Hello everyone and welcome. In this video, I wish to express and give you an understanding of my personal teaching philosophy as a pre-service teacher. I believe teaching is not just about focusing on a specific subject, it is also trying to better all students and their learning abilities. I hope to empower my students in wanting to pursue their educational pathways by learning, discovering, and engaging with the teachers and their peers. Bell Hooks, an academic who once stated an ideology that school was the place where I could forget that self and through ideas reinvent myself. As teachers, we have a huge influence on our students and can have a major impact on their learning environment and their educational experience. I am wanting to create an environment similar to Bell Hooks where she felt that she could reinvent herself through her schooling environment. By celebrating each student's uniqueness and adapting towards their diversity, rather than confining it, this in turn will relate to all students and their learning experience within my classroom. I like to look at this like I'm baking cookies, which can help to represent my personal teaching philosophy. Cookies each have their own texture and look. Although they may taste the same and are made with the same ingredients, they will all come out of the oven with varying shapes and can have a mixture of texture from cookie to cookie. This can relate to my students in both their learning experiences within the classroom and what they bring before learning. My students will be coming from all different backgrounds, having various beliefs, experiences, and learning needs required. As a pre-service teacher, I aim to understand that with this range of diversity needs to be embraced and catered for. They will in turn be presented with the same information, but it is up to me as a teacher to cater to their different learning needs in order for what I am teaching to be processed. As Bell Hooks states, knowledge was suddenly about information only. It had no relation to one lived or behaved. It was no longer connected to anti-racist struggle.
When making the cookies, we must first make sure that we have all the ingredients needed. This will ensure that I am well prepared before even starting the process of cooking. This can relate to the classroom through making sure, as a teacher, you're prepared before coming into the classroom.
Being aware of who is in your classroom, the information that is being learnt, and the techniques that will be used in order for the best outcome. If all the ingredients are not there, the cookies cannot be made correctly, or you would have to go out and get further ingredients. Just like education, if you do not have all that you need before going into the classroom, then that would be the detriment of the child's learning and the involvement of them within the classroom.
When mixing all the ingredients, we need to make sure that there is the right amount of both dry and wet to ensure that the perfect texture and consistency is for the perfect batch of cookies.
In turn, by incorporating both traditional and transformative texts, the students can be well equipped into learning and incorporating the hidden curriculums in order to create an environment that is not confined by mythical norms and stereotypes associated with diverse learners.
Be willing to step outside of your comfort zone and evaluate the learning environment you are presenting.
Through the teaching standard of evaluating and improving teaching programs, we can assume that by allowing yourself to understand what goes into making a perfect batch of cookies might come with a bit of off-road estimation with how much wet or dry ingredients are needed. If too much of wet ingredients are put into the mixture, the batch will be too liquidy. And if there is too much dry, then it'll crumble. Re-evaluating and allowing yourself to improve can be beneficial to the overall outcome of your classroom. Understanding that sometimes going off recipe can create the perfect learning environment for your students. Now that the batch has been made to perfection, we can place them onto the baking tray. I will not be using cookie cutters as they are going to restrict my cookies into looking a certain way. As teachers, we should be inclusive of all students and allowing for each individual to explore their differences. Although I'm there to help shape and guide the cookies before they go into the oven, I hope to allow them to grow into their own without restrictions once placed into the oven. If we were to use the cookie cutter method, students could possibly not realise their full potential and not further their opportunities within the learning environment. Allowing for the cookies to grow and shape themselves gives them room to reach their full potential. This can compare with my students responding positively to their differences rather than trying to conform them to the social conventions and letting them explore their diversity rather than to conceal. Allowing for your students within your classroom to be a heterogeneous group filled with diversity and the inclusion of all students.
Finally, we must ensure the oven is set at the right temperature. If incorrect, the cookies will not have an ideal environment to rise and grow. Comparatively, if the teacher does not give off a positive energy and does not include everyone within the classroom, the students will lose interest, failing to both learn and grow. With all this being said, we can understand that if a teacher acquires the right knowledge, skill sets, attitude, and creativity, the learning environment for all students will be perfect. Similar to the cookies, follow the recipe, allow for uniqueness, and give them room to grow.
A positive and tasty result will follow.